The robbery was quick, just a couple minutes, all while shouting that everything was free.
Whether or not the Meteor actually caused the fire is still very much under investigation.
Police say staff asked him to leave. RCMP say he remained in the parking lot and demanded a burger. Police say officers spoke to the man and realized he was under the influence.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird.
Handsome Aaron Airport. This is going to be a big night. I'm expecting fireworks tonight in the figurative and literal sense. We got to jump right into it. Let's have our special drinks right off the top here. Do you want to unveil yours first?
Yeah, sure. I have a special drink tonight. I was at the grocery store looking for something special so that I didn't have tea all the time as I normally have been lately. So I picked up a zero sugar Tropicana fruit punch.
Oh, I would call that a nice special juice for tonight. And I hope that bottle's full to the brim because we got a lot of exciting stories to get into. And we even have a little criticism and feedback.
I didn't taste it yet. Can you?
Oh, geez,
yeah.
Sorry.
It's just you gotta please respect my special drink time, and I'm gonna crack it open here. It doesn't make much of a sound when it opens, but that's okay. Now I'll take a sip. Oh, yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad. Okay. Let's bookmark our criticism with special drinks. You unveiled yours. Let me air some criticism, and then I'll do my special drink.
Okay.
You did your special drink. Now here's some feedback from listeners about whatever you call it, mealtime with Ken Tiggs.
Wet food with Tiggs is what I've been calling it.
Hello, Aaron and Jordan. I just wanted to weigh in on the listening to pets eat their food section of your podcast that's been happening recently. I really think it should go away, period. I don't think that we're listening to the podcast to eat somebody's dog or cat eat food. That's my opinion. Been listening from the start. Love you guys.
I think that's fair criticism.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, it's the whole reason that I wanted to do Wet Food with Tiggs was just to have somebody be forced to take time out of their day to call in to a podcast to say, please stop airing your pets eating their food.
So Wet Food with Ken Tiggs and Kibble with Penny was a success in that regard, I suppose. Let me unveil my special drink. I took a page out of your book. I have a hot tea here. I'm trying to cut down on caffeine, so I'm doing a little less like dark pops like colas and stuff. This is just a decaf like orange pico tea with a little bit of sweetener and milk, and it's always delicious, but not as delicious as the feedback that my new segment has received. Jamie wants to talk about something.
I'm sure she does.
Hello, boys. Correspondent from out here in Alberta. I just finished listening to episode 211 and was greatly impressed with the information about that number and the help that it can provide. So keep it up with the numbers.
There you have it. And that was the point of the numbers segment at the beginning of these shows. I want to highlight the uniqueness of all these numbers, and I also want to, educate people along the way. And I think if Jamie runs into hardship, maybe she'll know to dial 211 to open the door to a better accessible life.
Right. The thing is that you may have gotten lucky with 211 in that there was actually a helpful aspect to that number that you're able to talk about at the beginning of the show. But I have called out to listeners to air their grievances over the numbers segment and how it distracts us from everything else going on this show. And am I correct in that the listeners has nobody?
I have, and I'm not being silly. I did not receive one bit of negative feedback about the area code thing. And I know that you've kind of, you poo-pooed it. You just did there. You got lucky with 211. Well, buckle your seatbelt, Aaron Airport. Let me tell you, tonight is episode 212 of Keep Canada Weird, our weekly weird news roundup. And not only is tonight going to be a great episode, but 212 is also an interesting number. Did you know that 212 is the boiling point of water in Fahrenheit?
No, I didn't know that.
But 212 may also be the most interesting area code I've ever unveiled on the show. The 212 area code was one of the original North American area codes created in 1947. And at first, it covered all of New York City. But as phone demand exploded, new area codes were added and assigned to different areas of the city. Now, 212 is one of several that serve the borough of Manhattan. Because it's old and it's scarce and tied to the history of the city, 212 or the 212 area code has become a status symbol for people in New York. How fascinating is that? That's one of the original area codes.
You know, these area codes and these numbers are bringing you outside of Canada all the time.
We'll get there.
Yeah, it's going to take us 100 years to get to Canadian area codes, and This is getting out of hand. I need the listeners to back me up on this. I need somebody. I'm begging one listener to call in to complain about the numbers segment at the top of the show. I can't handle much more. I'm struggling here.
So, last week when we called out for positive reviews of Keep Canada Weird and Canadian Gothic on all the various platforms, the listeners have outdone themselves. None of these reviews mentioned area codes, but all of them were contributed by listeners and correspondents of the show. And I'm going to invite one right now to crack open their special drink with us. Here's Kelsey.
Hi, Aaron. Hi, Jordan. My name is Kelsey. I'm a correspondent from Silver Star, BC. I say that with immense pride, as we recently received our own postal code in the last year and a half. I am here with a special drink. It's Friday night, so I've got a beer. From Fernie Brewing Co., I have their Slingshot Session IPA. Let's dive in. Yeah, citrusy and refreshing. Very crushable.
Very crushable. So she's listening on Friday night with a beer she's referring to as crushable. Is Kelsey getting hammered tonight?
Yeah, Kelsey's probably pretty wasted after a few of those IPAs. And congratulations on the new postal code as well. That's pretty exciting.
It's a big deal.
Maybe we could talk about it in 500 years by the time we get to that number.
I wouldn't count on it because postal codes in Canada have letters in them. So unless we start adding letters to our podcast, who knows? Maybe we'll get there. But our listeners aren't only cracking open special drinks and criticizing your segments and complimenting mine. They're also sharing stories. And I want to open the show with a story that completely went over my head, off of my radar, despite it being so in the Keep Canada Weird wheelhouse. Ellie has a story from Vancouver for us.
Hey, Jordan and Aaron. This is your BC correspondent and court jester, Ellie, calling to let you know that this week we had a meteor strike a ski chalet on Vancouver Island. And there's some pretty spectacular videos of the meteor in the sky before it took down the ski chalet.
She's absolutely right. When I heard that, I thought, meteor, fire, ski chalet? This is fascinating. I have to learn more. And I did. I'm going to share with you some news coverage of this event. And it truly is fascinating because for whatever reason, it seems the people involved in this fire don't want to admit that the meteor was responsible. Here it comes.
Here it goes.
As neighbors were burning the midnight oil, fire was making its way through this chalet.
Started hearing some noises, assuming now that was all the glass of the windows breaking.
And then by the time we got out here, like the flames were right through the top and the building was fully engulfed for sure.
Wow.
But flames weren't the only thing lighting up the sky Wednesday night.
There was, shortly after midnight, there was the bright blue flash they'd seen.
And there is evidence now that there was a meteor last night at the same time.
According to the American Meteor Society, the fireball was reported by hundreds of eyewitnesses at 12:12 Pacific time. Minutes later, the handful of people who happened to be staying on Mount Washington spotted the flames in the unoccupied chalet.
There we go.
They called 911 and waited for help to arrive.
Okay, now it's an emergency.
The roof was fully engulfed. Shortly after that, roof collapsed in on the structure, and we just started protecting the two structures next to it for exposure protection.
And while the timing may have sparked speculation.
Do you want to talk about the other possibility?
Oh,
No. Whether or not the meteor actually caused the fire is still very much under investigation.
Mother Nature.
It's a fascinating one, but what do you make of their dodging the question at the end there? Because the reporter even seemed tentative to even bring up the idea that the meteor could be involved, and the firefighter that was being interviewed, he had to just laugh it off. What is so taboo about a meteor hitting a building and having it catch fire?
I don't know. Do they not believe in meteors there? Do they not see the science and just do the simple math here that a meteor was seen going down at the same time this fire started?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It seems obvious to me because if for people who are, and we say this all the time, this should be the drinking game, the Keep Canada Weird drinking game. You take a drink when we just have to describe what you see in the news clip. But what you see in this news clip is a whole bunch of like Ring video doorbell footage from the area of this massive meteor, like going through the sky and clearly going right towards that community. Literally, like within minutes of the time that this fire erupts in this building, this abandoned chalet, it seems so obvious to me that maybe not obvious that it definitely caused the fire, but it would be like my leading suspect, which is pretty interesting. How rare that would be for it to happen.
Oh, it's like a 1 in a gazillion shot to be able to have that happen. And thankfully, you know, if there's some entity up in the sky that is aiming meteors at chalets and resorts, it certainly was lucky that it was an unoccupied chalet. So there was nobody in it. Nobody got hurt. This would be a completely different story if that was the case. But
what a way to go, though, right?
Yeah. It's like being struck by lightning, but even more rare, I would say, to be killed by a falling meteor. Like that's
in a chalet.
In a chalet while you're sipping champagne and laying on top of a dead bear rug or something. But so this entity in the sky, what's their issues with chalets? Is it the wealthy that they don't care for, or what's their message? What's their motivation?
Well, I would say the entity in the sky likely would have like a strong connection to nature and the natural order. Is there something about a chalet and skiing that perhaps upsets the natural order of things? And maybe the firefighter's onto that because he did kind of laugh off the suggestion and then said something like it was nature or it was natural. So maybe he's like, maybe he knows all about this entity in the sky and he knows damn well what's happening. The entity's throwing meteorites down.
He is the entity in the sky, and he's down in his human form, just to be able to distract from the meteor and maybe take the steam out of the notion that a meteor, struck this chalet. So he's going to the media and he's like, yes, it was definitely not a meteor. It was natural. And then he's, however, alien. And
glitches out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that would sound because he's not an alien per se. We're calling him an entity. So
more of a god.
I wouldn't say a god, but an entity, something in the sky.
Okay. All right. A non-denominational entity in the sky.
Yeah. A vengeful, intelligent, and quite versatile being that's able,
and quite creative.
And a great sense of humor. I mean,
Yeah. Well, if this being in the sky can control our world, maybe that will explain the next series of stories. Because I'll tell you, when we break down the week's weird Canadian news, we got our plates full for episode 212. The last week has been a cornucopia of unusual stories. Let's take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to have 2 stories about holes and 3 stories about falling after this short break. Handsome Air and Airport. Over the last year or so, we found ourselves covering stories related to holes quite a bit. For whatever reason this week, an entity in the sky threw us a duo of stories about holes. Let's start with those. Our first story related to a hole will take us to Winnipeg. Christine Kyleback went out for a movie in Winnipeg, but the plot twist actually happened on her way home. She stepped out of her friend's car, took a few steps, and fell into a mysterious hole. Here's the story about the woman who fell in a hole in Winnipeg.
Christine Keelback in the middle, surrounded by firefighters, stuck in a hole, her head above ground. It's not how she expected her Saturday night to end after seeing a movie with friends.
The ground had just given away very fast. I have no recollection of the fall. It just happened very quickly.
Keelback says she didn't see anything on the boulevard that looked like a problem. Her friend captured video of firefighters pulling her to safety. She had tried to get out on her own.
Couldn't get a toe hold. Every time I tried to stick my foot into the dirt around me, it was just crumbling away. And I sort of realized after a few minutes that the left side, the soil was less stable than it was on the right side.
Keelback is grateful to her friends, neighbors, and firefighters. She says the rescue crews got there in about 10 minutes, reassured her, and walked her through their plan to get her out. They also removed a piece of metal from behind her.
I was so lucky because there was also an old pipe in front of me about the level of my abdomen, so I could have hit that on the way down. So if you think about it, from the metal behind and the pipe in front, I was very, very lucky that I didn't get hurt.
Keelback estimates the whole ordeal lasted about 40 minutes.
I can now check that off my list of life experiences. I should never fall into a sinkhole again. Because I'm just interested intellectually, like what they think happened and how it's repaired. I'm glad it was me and not a child or an animal, because I was still above the ground when I fell in. Maybe somebody else wouldn't have been.
The city says at this point they don't believe it's a true sinkhole and appears to be related to a missing or displaced manhole or catch basin cover. The hole is covered now. A spokesperson says crews found similar conditions across the street and are determining how to repair both areas.
That story has it all. At moments I laughed, at moments I've cringed.
Yeah.
For almost the entire thing, I scratched my head out. Why did her friend just stand there filming?
Well, I mean, what would you do?
Like, could you not pull her out? She's kind of like, when she falls in the hole, it's almost like her head and her arms are above ground. I know not everyone can like pull themselves out of a hole, but you would think with like a friend's help. Like, what did the firefighters do that her friend couldn't do?
I guess they would have to be able to pull her out completely dead weight, because if she was going to be using any of the ground surrounding her, it was crumbling, right? And so she was kind of not able to.
And she couldn't get a toe hold.
Not able to get a toe hold, or really to be able to assist in the momentum of pulling herself out. So you would have to be able to completely lift the dead weight straight out of the hole. And when you think about the angle that you would have to get at in order to be able to do that, if you were strong enough, would also be very challenging. So I think they realized that some type of machinery or mechanism,
ropes and pulleys,
would have to be put into place here in order for her to be able to be brought out of this hole. So, and a lot of the issues that she dodged, like the pipe and whatever else was down there, that
they described a piece of metal behind her. So it kind of said like it must have been some kind of like pre-dug hole that was like partially filled or something. They made it sound like it was like a manhole cover or a catch basin that was like not properly secured. So yeah, I don't know. It's a strange kind of thing she fell into. And they were probably also like, what I'm not thinking about is if you and I were coming home from a movie and you fell into a hole up to your underarms, yes, I would laugh and take a few pictures when I realized you weren't hurt. But I would probably also panic at the idea that you could have, like, that maybe there's a deeper hole below you and you're about to fall deeper. So maybe I would call 911 or something.
Yeah. It's hard to say. We weren't in the situation to be able to visibly see what was happening in the moment. But she certainly made herself out to be the hero here, in terms of she painted the picture as if, well, I'm glad it was me that fell in it and not a child or an animal. So as if she had made the unwilling sacrifice to be the person, to fall into the hole so that it wasn't a child, it wasn't an animal. it wasn't someone more vulnerable.
She's a martyr.
That could have been really hurt. She was the hero. She was able to take the fall and take it in good stride. But so do you find that that was really arrogant of her to?
If I was gonna if I had to point at some part of that whole piece and describe it as arrogant, the part I point at would be when she said, I really know I really want to know what caused this whole. Intellectually, I want to know.
Yeah.
I would think most people would say, I'm just curious. I'd like to know. But to say intellectually.
Yeah, I agree.
I have an engineer's mind. It's almost like she wanted to say.
Yeah. When I see a piece of machinery, I'm always dissecting it and figuring out how it works and how it was built and how it was constructed. I don't like this woman anymore now that we've hashed through this and really got to the bottom of this story.
The bottom of the hole. Is it a good, as far as hole stories go, though? This is a pretty good hole story. If you're someone who's interested in weird hole stories in Canadian news, this is a doozy.
Which we are, because we've covered holes on the show before.
Many. And buckle up, because we're not done. Let's go to Montreal for another one. Carol Gagnon spent Saturday night enjoying everything Montreal has to offer. She went to a performance at the Montreal Symphony House, then she caught a local band at Club Soda, and then she made her way home through Montreal streets with a record under her arm and a T-shirt in her hand. And that's when things go wrong. Here's the story of the Montreal woman who fell in a hole.
Carole Gagnon had a typically exciting Saturday night downtown. It's when she walked home that things went wrong.
Yeah, I was walking down this way because I just came out from the Club Soda with my record on one arm and my T-shirt. And just here, I felt like that. And the record, fly away on the street. A young couple helped me. And I was very, ça faisait mal.
Gagnon's foot tripped on a pothole on the corner of Vigée and Saint Laurent, despite her attention for bad roads.
But this one, because of the light and the rain, I didn't see it. And I was not drunk.
Gagnon suffered a fracture and will be off work for a few weeks. She filed a complaint with the city of Montreal. Her story received a lot of media coverage. To Gagnon's astonishment, the hole and many others around are still there 5 days later.
Of course. This morning when I came here, I said, maybe the hole is already, because it was in the newspaper 2 days ago, everybody talks of that. It's still there.
We contacted City Hall to find out why it wasn't fixed and to obtain an update on its pothole repair operation. No one was available to speak to us. But for Gagnon and many Montrealers, frustration has now given way to apathy when faced with terrible roads.
Is that falling into a hole story more palatable for you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the first hole story. I think it's a perfect hole story. This one, the biggest issue with this whole story, which I'll say is a good whole story, but it's not a great whole story because it's a smaller hole that you could argue even isn't really a hole.
It's like a crevice.
Yeah, it's like a dent in the...
So this story, let's talk through it. It's pouring rain and it's late at night, and which both factor into the story because she steps off of a curb onto the street and she steps into a pothole that she wasn't able to see well because it's dark. The street light wasn't really hitting it, and it was half full of water, so it kind of obscured the look of this thing. She steps into it. She kind of rolls her ankle. In the process, she throws her record and throws her T-shirt. She complains to the city. Several days later, it's still not filled, and she's been checking. In fact, she's probably been standing near the hole signing autographs because it seems like she's become a local celebrity in the fallout of this tripping situation. And yeah, I guess that's the whole story. She claims she wasn't drunk.
Yeah, she made a very specific point to say that she wasn't drunk.
Well, that's where your mind would go, right? So it's like when she calls the city to complain, they're like, oh, yeah, at 2 a.m, you tripped downtown on your way home from a concert.
Right.
And it's our pothole's fault.
Mm-hmm. And this is there's a connecting factor here between the victims of the holes in these two whole stories. And there's the first whole story where she went on about, oh, I was glad it was me that fell in the hole and not the children and the animals and the this and that. And I intellectually want to know about all these things about holes and whatever. And then in this story, she's like, I was leaving 18 different concerts I went to, and I went to 9 different plays, and I had these T-shirts and merchandise. And she's just bragging about how cultured she is. And I have such a wonderful... this is not how she sounds, obviously. Everyone just heard the news clip. But it's the only brutal French accent I have.
I get it. Yeah.
I'm just making a point that she's French.
Okay. So we have an engineer falls into a hole, and now we have an artist.
An artist. Oh, yes. All of the wonderful music I was listening to and the soft T-shirts I wear. Oh, no, a dent.
Yeah. Oh, what a story. I told you that we have 2 whole stories and 3 falling stories. So far you've heard the 2 whole stories, 2 of the falling stories, but we're not done yet. We have 1 more falling story. This one does not involve a hole, but it is fascinating. This one's going to take us to Ontario. So we're getting a tour of Canada through the lens of holes and falling. Let me read you this one. This is just a short and sweet one here, but we got to talk about this. A correspondent named Heather actually got his hip to this story. A veterinarian in Almonte, Ontario, ended up in hospital after a truly Keep Canada Weird workplace incident. A cow fell on her. Emergency crews were called to a property on the morning of Tuesday, April 14th, after witnesses reported that a cow had fell on a veterinarian that was treating it. By the time help arrived, the cow was already back on its feet and had moved on with its day, while the human veterinarian was on the ground waiting for an ambulance. Fire Chief Mike Williams said she was conscious, talking, and in stable condition when she was taken to hospital, though he couldn't provide details about the exact severity of her injuries. He did say the situation could have been very serious, which is not hard to imagine when you remember that a mature cow weighs somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,200 to 1,600 pounds. So she got lucky. All these people, I guess, got lucky. Falling around downtown's not cool. But having a cow land on you while you're treating it as a veterinarian, that's a bad way to go.
Yeah, and I always imagined and thought that cows were the sturdiest of animals.
They seem it, right? Like you drive a car into a cow, your car gets broken, the cow is just like, Murr. How does a cow fall on you? I guess here's an idea. Maybe the cow had a problem with its legs, so this veterinarian had like the cow on 3 legs and she was working on its leg, and it just the cow lost its balance and stumbled into her and took her out.
I imagine that this is part of the puberty problem because cow tipping is popular amongst those infected with the puberty problem.
Is it though?
I mean, certainly they're interested in it.
They're curious. Intellectually, they want to understand how can we teenagers knock over some cows.
And then they brag about how many cows they knocked over before they fell in a hole. So I think that this veterinarian was treating the cow. And then on the other side, the veterinarian didn't see that there were several teenagers that were trying to tip the cow. Because cow tipping, I think, is definitely loved by teenagers.
I see your puberty problem. Could it not be? The cow knows, this human is close. She's not paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm just going to see what happens if I just roll over onto her and take one out.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly, maybe cows don't like getting needles, I'm sure. The vet was probably sticking stuff in it, touching its undercarriage.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I agree with you that the animal uprising could be could be a contributing factor here.
Mm-hmm. I don't know for sure, but my understanding is that the veterinarian did receive a pretty severe leg injury, so I hope they're okay. I imagine the veterinarian is off work with their severe leg injury after having a cow land on it. So let's go back to the woman in Montreal. Did it not say she sprained her ankle, so she's off work for 4 weeks?
That's right. She's off work for 4 weeks.
Is that anything to say about that?
I mean, I'm surprised she has to have a job because she can afford all the concerts and all the T-shirts and records that she owns.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But 4 weeks?
Well, if she didn't specify what kind of a job she was off from.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, what could that job be? So,
soccer player,
figure skater,
karate champion,
roller skate type fast food joint where they skate the food out to your car. Oh, actually, I'm going to take that back because they could probably put her in the kitchen or have her doing some other job that doesn't involve the roller skates.
Right. A shoe model. Someone who models shoes.
I don't know. I think that'd be possible to keep going.
Okay. A pantyhose modeler. Someone who models pantyhose.
Because she has that big plastic thing on her ankle. Yeah, that wouldn't work. Okay,
that's right.
So all right. I guess I take it back. 4 weeks is probably reasonable because she probably is within one of those exciting and demanding industries we just highlighted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, enough with holes and falling stories. We got to take our second and final break because it's just getting good here. When we come back, we're getting to some, I don't know if we'll call these dumb crime or what the F stories. I guess it's probably a little bit of both. When we come back, we're going to have some what the F dumb crimes. At Samaritan Airport, we got a duo of dumb crime WTF stories, and the first one is going to sound a little bit like a Keep Canada Weird rerun because it kind of encompasses a lot of different parts of other stories we've covered over the past probably 45 episodes or so. But let's just jump right in. A Montreal bakery says it was hit by a bizarre broad daylight robbery that involved a group of masked men walking in, filling their bags with products, and shouting, "Everything is free," before leaving. Here's the story of the Montreal bakery that was robbed by the free bread militants.
The robbery was quick, just a couple minutes, all while shouting that everything was free. Mamie Clafouti co-owner Joseph Sabatier says the impact is still being felt.
We are really surprised what people can do.
He says the group got away with close to $1,000 worth of goods.
They took pastries, sausage, honey, bread, everything they want.
And he says the group also left their mark, writing "free bread" on the windows and "capitalist store" inside. An anonymous collective is now claiming responsibility online, calling the robbery a political act. In a statement, they say they acted in total rejection of the encroaching gaze of surveillance and the false gods of capitalism. And they claim the small chain of bakeries uses surveillance technology, including facial recognition.
They are angry about capitalism or what they said. First, they have to maybe learn more about our system.
He says the bakery's self-serve system does not use facial recognition. Montreal police say no arrests have been made so far. Investigators are now looking at whether this is part of a larger pattern, including a robbery that took place Thursday in Rosemont.
A group of people that were masked entered the business calmly, took a lot of stuff and left. In those two events, there was a graffiti mischief that was done on the entrance of those businesses.
Some customers say they disagree with the action.
It's not even like a big chain, so even if it was a big chain, it's just not something that should happen anywhere.
With some questioning the motive.
I think it's a bit an excuse to, just come here and steal stuff.
At the bakery, the focus now is on trying to move forward.
We've heard of stuff like this before. I think in Montreal specifically, there was a place where a group of people went into like a grocery store dressed as Santa Claus, stole a bunch of stuff, or maybe they were dressed as elves, but they stole a bunch of stuff and then gave it away in the streets.
Yeah.
This seems like kind of like a take on that, except this is more, is it specifically targeting bread capitalism and surveillance.
Yeah, it seems to be, because it's kind of hard to understand why this business was targeted. But I guess they have a huge problem with the self-service bread machines that are using or are accused of using surveillance in some kind of negative
facial
way.
recognition. Do you think this like locally owned bakery is using facial recognition software on their self-serve like bagel dispenser thing? Come on. Of all the if you want to complain about the things that this group seems to be complaining about, like, is there not a Walmart in Montreal or Quebec?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you got to choose this bakery and go take their sausages, their croissants, and their whole wheat bread. And come on, this is foolishness.
And so, what are they doing with the bread and the croissants and the cured meats that they're stealing? Are they eating it themselves? Are they bringing it to a homeless shelter? We haven't
taken
got
home
any
as trophies, because it seems like it's. I don't know how serious these people are, but it seems to me like a bit of you call it a LARP, like a live action role play. It seems like they are just enjoying this idea of like fighting against the man. They're probably not doing it at Walmart because they know they'll get arrested out front. They probably know they can take over this little locally owned bakery. The place that they did this to is a business based in Quebec, and it hires it uses local suppliers, has a staff of bakers, and they're like there early in the morning, cooking all this stuff. Like, they picked the absolute wrong place to do this to. Even if you're gonna target this type of business and you don't want to go at Walmart, is there not a Tim Hortons in Quebec that you could do this to? Because if any place that sells baked goods is using like facial recognition software, would it not be like a Tim Hortons or a McDonald's or something like that?
Yeah, again, I think you're right in terms of them not targeting those places. And the reason that they probably ultimately targeted this place is because they probably liked the bread there.
It's a good point.
So they're like, let's find a middle-sized business that's just big enough that we can call them corporate capitalist pigs and use that as our justification, so that we can then go in, pretend for it to be politicized, and steal all this bread and this meat and croissants, and then eat it.
Maybe. It did look like a great a great bakery, like in the news clips there, as they showed their baked goods to me with a not full belly right now. I'm like, damn, I'd love a big croissant like that. I'd pop it in the microwave for a few minutes. When you put a croissant in the microwave, I refer to that as turning the croissant on. Because when it just needs like 15 seconds. No, I don't mean like romantically. I mean like turn it on as in turn, like activate it. You put a croissant in the microwave for 15 seconds, and it's a whole different beast. It's game on.
Yeah. Do you make sandwiches with your croissants?
Yeah, I don't need to. I don't do anything to it other than put it in the microwave for like 15 seconds.
I like making sandwiches with my croissants. Salami, cheese, or egg and cheese with some bacon in there.
I like them just the way the entity made them.
Yeah, but the entity is allowing us to be able to enjoy more than just the croissant. And I don't think that it takes away from the croissant. It shows the versatility of the croissant, what the croissant is truly capable of by taking in other things that are delicious and having them all be even more delicious together.
Okay.
Kind of like a superhero team. Individually they're all good superheroes, but together they're a great superhero team, like the Justice League.
Or like a burger.
Yeah.
You see what I'm doing here? I'm trying to work on a segue because we were kind of getting there naturally. Our next story involves burgers. It doesn't involve croissants. It involves burgers, which kind of relates to what you're talking about. Choosing some of the bountiful harvest that the entity in the sky has put on planet Earth and combining them as a delicious, beefy, greasy, mayonnaise-y gift. That's where the next story is going to take us. Let's get into it here. A 38-year-old man from Sylvan Lake, Alberta, was arrested after a comedy of nonsense that begins when a fast food joint has a technical problem that prevents them from being able to serve guests. A condition typically known as their systems were down. Anyway, here's the story about a drunk that's pissed off about burgers in Alberta.
RCMP say a man from Sylvan Lake drove to Red Deer and called 911 because a restaurant wouldn't serve him a burger. The 38-year-old man says he had driven 35 minutes to the restaurant. A technical issue, though, inside the restaurant prevented staff from serving him. Police say staff asked him to leave. RCMP say he remained in the parking lot and demanded a burger. Police say officers spoke to the man and realized he was under the influence. They asked him for a breath sample. He refused, so he was issued an immediate roadside sanction fail, and his vehicle was seized.
If you're going to call the cops on the burger joint, make sure you're not breaking any rules.
Yeah.
Because they're going to question you. Something's up with the guy who's calling the police to be like, they're not serving me burgers. They say their systems are down.
You wouldn't believe the injustice I've just stumbled upon.
This is in the middle of the night, too. I think this whole event takes place at like 4 a.m. This guy drove like a half hour from Red Deer or from Sylvan Lake to Red Deer to get a burger, only to find, I don't know what the technical problem was. I'm thinking either their debit machines were down or their cash registers were down, or maybe their oven wasn't working or something. But some technical problem in the middle of the night prevented this guy from getting a burger, and he went nuts. And he effed around and found out, it turns out.
Yeah, so he drove quite a ways, intoxicated.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how drunk he was. It's too bad I couldn't have been there to get a sense of his intoxication.
Smell his breath and stuff. Yeah, well, I guess we don't even know for sure he was drunk. He refused the test, the breathalyzer or whatever.
Right.
And with the Canadian Criminal Code, it's like if you fail or refuse, it's the same result. So.
Right.
In the eyes of the law. But you would never refuse it if you weren't going to fail it anyway, honestly.
Well, unless the breathalyzer has facial recognition and you have a moral issue with that.
Yeah, that's true. It could be something like that. I guess you'd have to go argue that in court and explain yourself to a judge as to why you didn't do it.
And free burgers for everyone. You know.
Yeah. But all that to say, you must have gone to a fast food joint or a place and been turned away due to a technical reason. I'm just thinking the long running gag the long running gag is that McDonald's ice cream machines or milkshake machines are like always down.
I've been turned away from bars
for technical reasons.
I was technically not allowed to go in. Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. Yeah. This is a good story, though. It kind of gives me a few shades of like the guy on the Barbie Jeep story.
Yeah, a bit, except this guy drove a really long way. And I wonder, was there not any other food options for him where he was?
Mm-hmm. And what technical problem would prevent him from getting no food at all? Like if he gets in there and he's heated, you think they would find a way, like, listen, buddy, like our oven's down, but I got this. Like, you can have these fries. They're not fresh. Just take these fries and, call a cab.
I don't know.
I would like to talk to some of the people working there. It's kind of a shame that the news clip was so short. I'd love to hear his side of it, and I would love to hear the workers' side of it because there is more of a story there.
Yeah, it seems like it's the most natural thing, and it's a real fail by the reporter to not dig a little deeper into the most obvious kind of direction of this story and chat with a worker and say, well, what was the technical issue?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But as we've learned tonight with the first story of the night involving the Meteor, some stories, there are people who just don't want them told for one reason or another. So whatever went on in this fast food joint, they're keeping it pretty hush-hush.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll never know. Yeah.
Considering all the stories we have tonight, all of this played out just in the last week. These are some great stories. Like, I'm pretty proud of 212.
212 has delivered, although it pains me to even say the numbers 212 out loud. But here I am doing that. But it was a great episode of stories. It was really entertaining.
Yeah, I hope we lived up to the positive reviews. I want to talk about that again because I don't think I made it as clear as I should have at the beginning. As last week in episode 211, when we called out for positive reviews in exchange for swag packs, I did not expect the response we got. I cleared out all my envelopes, all my stickers. I had to go to the post office 3 separate times to buy more stamps. It was a lot of rigmarole. It was a lot of work, but I was glad to do it because we got a lot of great reviews. If you're looking for a laugh, if you go through the Keep Canada Weird reviews on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, the correspondents really played along with the whole thing. There's quite a few funny reviews. I won't read them now, but you go and take a look at them. And if you haven't reviewed us, now's the time, but I'm not sending you nothing. That offer is over. I'll be in the poorhouse if I keep sending stickers all around the world.
Yeah, your time is over. You should have done it last week when everybody else did.
Yeah, but you just wait. I'm gonna refill all the stickers and stuff, so I'll find something else to justify mailing them all over the place again.
And they should just do it out of the kindness of their own hearts, and not for the swag pack gain of getting rewarded with something like that for leaving a positive review. They should just leave a review for us.
Yeah, but if you follow that idea long enough, we should also just be sending swag packs. They listen, they join us every week.
But there's none left.
Yeah, well, I guess so. And they can still leave reviews. There's no limit.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, you win. All right. Well, we've been through a lot. We got to wrap this up. Episode 212 of Keep Canada Weird will go down in history as one of the 212 episodes of Keep Canada Weird. And I'm proud to have it join the fold.
Yeah, me too.
Handsome Aaron Airport. Until next time.
Jordan Bus Stop, Backhoe Bonaparte. Until next time.
Next time you're coming home from a movie or hitting the clubs, maybe wrap yourself in bubble wrap because you never know what's going to kick you in the arse. An entity from the sky, a gang of teenagers, a cow, or just a random hole.
Jordan, until next time, I'd like to thank the entity for tonight's episode. I'd like to also thank the entity for the bountiful chicken wrap I had from Sobeys earlier today. And I'd like to thank the entity for the beautiful weather that we had today that allowed me to go for a walk and not fall in any holes and not get struck by any meteors, because all of that is directly responsible and purely thankful from the entity themselves up in the sky, making decisions, hard decisions, and following through on those choices, and also turning into humanoids and talking on the news.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. Now, if any one of you listening want to get more involved in what we're doing, we need all the correspondence we can get. So if something weird happens in your area, or if you have any thoughts on anything we discussed tonight, let us know about it. The best way to reach us is by using the voice recorder that can be found at thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, let us thank a few people. First of all, Aaron and I want to give a big thank you to all the correspondents who contributed to this episode. If your voice message was aired on the show, go back to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and fill out the form to claim your swag pack and Keep Canada Weird badge. We'll happily get it right out to you. Next, a big shout out to Unicole for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada that you're about to hear. And then lastly, but most importantly, we have a massive thank you to every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this work would be impossible. And for any one of you out there who want to support the show financially and get more out of the show at the same time, please consider the premium feed. Our premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of Keep Canada Weird episodes and bonuses. You can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if the premium feed isn't for you, you can still support the show by simply sharing episodes on social media. That's free, and it's a big help. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and please keep Canada weird.
And keep Canada weird. Please keep Canada weird.
And now to our viewers and listeners everywhere. Good night.
Hey, I'm here in Conroe, Texas. I love you guys. I listen to y'all every week and wait for your new show every week to come out. Thank you, and I support you all. And if I can send you some stories from Texas, I'd love it. Thanks, guys.